Hi, this is Donna Nova, the Transdimensional Twin Flame and the Afterlife Artist. I can also be found under the name Eclectic Guru on YouTube and Facebook, which is where I share my channeled visionary or intuitive artwork, which includes energy frequency paintings that are known as meta frequency art because I embed the frequencies of higher consciousness through my channeling into the artwork to be experienced for any particular need for the recipient of the artwork or the crystals that we also have available for purchase. So that's how you can find me. I'm the Transdimensional Twin Flame because I had a near-death experience upon my birth, and for 2 months I was between dimensions, being trained to be a transdimensional human. And ever since, I have been channeling artwork intuitively, which is also known as being a visionary artist. And I have been able to see energy as design and color in an endless variety. Later, I discovered I was a twin flame on a twin flame journey. And when he and I met, I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening in the black light of Source, as I later found out. I knew I was in the center of the universe, but there are different kinds of light: the clear light, the white light, the black light. And in some of my classes and studies, after the event, I realized where I awakened was the black light of Source or God, which is, I felt like the womb of the universe. So my entire life, I have been connected to the higher realms and did not realize it. But with the introduction of my twin flame and then his subsequent passing across the veil in 2021, we continued our twin flame mission to work between dimensions and learn how to connect and communicate and teach other people how to do that, as well as bring forth very high vibrational frequencies and energies from the higher dimensions, as well as teaching about reality from that perspective. So that's where I come from with these messages. This image that you're looking at is a channeled image and message. I am able to bilocate to my twin flame across the veil and explore higher dimensions. And I am also able to channel higher consciousness. I am able to channel him, others in spirit, and higher consciousness. They call themselves the Twin Flame Collective. I also channel a collective called Core Consciousness, the Core Consciousness Collective. And I have been told that they go by other names as well, including the Galactic Federation of Light. So this message with this image, the image I saw during meditation while I was channeling this message, and energy to go with it. So the energy that I channeled while this message was downloaded to me and the image was given to me, the energy that was channeling through me at that time went into the artwork and into the words. So simply by listening to this recording and looking at that artwork and understanding this message will help you actually calm your fear response, because that is the intention of this message. That's the intention that the higher collective consciousness wanted when they gave us these images and these words. And they want us to share them now for what I assume would be obvious reasons to everyone. The world right now is a seemingly very chaotic and unstable place. And for obvious reasons, everyone seems to be on edge, fearful, and not sure how the future is going to play out. But there's always a higher perspective and a more long-term perspective that we, as the humans involved, can't see from our vantage point. But if we were able to zoom out from our time stream and our small little lives, we would be able to see that everything is in a divine order. And if we can remove ourselves with our consciousness choices from the emotional reaction of fear, we can take ourselves out of that emotional response. It's a very natural response. It comes from the deep place where we all come from, feeling like we need to watch for danger. That's part of survival in the 3D experience. And our egos also like to make sure that we're safe. So sometimes they do go overboard, providing ideas for us to ponder that we should be afraid of. And then, of course, there are all the other humans around us, starting with our caregivers when we are young, who, on purpose or inadvertently, program us with things to be afraid of. Often, your caregiver might actually give you a lifelong fear of something simply because they feared it, because they didn't want you to get hurt. The issues that your own caregivers have oftentimes are just passed down to you, and if you never stop and realize it, you will carry their beliefs with you your entire life, and you will carry their fears and their burdens and their hang-ups and their neuroses with you throughout your life, unless you stop and you wake up and you look at yourself and you realize that's not even my fear, and I don't even believe it, and it's not even relevant. So we are going to be channeling more and more messages around the topic of fear, because a lot of the fear in this planet is unnecessary, but most people don't know that because it is a very instant reaction that we've all had. And I'm not even saying it's not somewhat justified. Uncertainty doesn't always feel great. Everybody likes comfort and stability. But to see this from a higher perspective, you have to know that when things are not working, sometimes what needs to happen is they need to be torn down, destroyed, taken to the foundations, knocked down to the foundation, and then rebuilt from scratch on a firm foundation instead of the rocky foundation that they were originally built on. Currently, American society and many other societies on this planet are not functioning and have not been functioning properly for quite a long time. And those of us who are intuitive sensitives, like the psychics, channels, and mediums, we have known for a long time that things are going to fall apart simply because they need to be rebuilt in a way that actually works for everyone and not just the 1%. It needs to serve the people. What we have right now is the opposite, where our government institutions are using the people as servants, and that is backwards. The only way to take your power back as a citizen, as one human, one small person, is to take control of your reactions, your thoughts, and your behaviors. Now, notice I didn't say to control your emotions. We are not trying to control emotions. That is a form of stuffing down your emotions to ignore them, to make yourself feel better, which is a form of bypassing. It doesn't work, which is why if you've ever tried to stuff down a really strong emotion, you will find that you can't. It will come back to you over and over again in different situations, showing up as different people, but it'll be the same situation over and over again. Emotions want to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and felt. They are signals, and they're coming from ourselves. They are also a form of consciousness. Our thoughts actually form thought forms that do exist in, some people say, the fourth dimension. And if you really thought about that and you understood that your thoughts can create beings, you'd probably be pretty careful about what you thought about. And in that way, yes, controlling your thoughts is good to train yourself to focus on what you actually want in life. Because, as this message says, where your attention goes, that thing grows. And vice versa, where you remove your attention, those things, shrink in your life in importance. And it's the case for your personal life, but it also extends into the collective reality that you experience. We can change our personal reality, which is called the subjective reality, but we can also change the objective reality, which is the collective reality that we all experience. In my mind, I'm not sure we all experience any collective reality that's the same, because we vibrate into different dimensions all the time without knowing it, and the collective reality, shifts when we do that. So this concept is important when you are talking about fear, because you don't attach so much to what's happening in the physical realm when you understand that it changes all the time. There is nothing that is, well, there's not a lot that is truly set in stone. There are some watershed events that will occur across multiple timelines because they are big and important events. But for the most, and that's the case for everybody's life as well. There are things in your life that you will experience that you can't get out of, because those are just milestones in your life. And it's the same for the trajectory of the planet. But within that, there's a huge variety of ways everything could shake out. And where you end up and what reality you end up experiencing doesn't have to be the same one that the person sitting next to you experiences. When you shift into different realities, you sometimes are looking at people who are people you know, but they're slightly different versions of themselves, just like you are, because you just shifted. So everything is constantly changing and shifting. And a technique to avoid going down, um, a spiral of fear and catastrophizing thoughts, which is where you're sitting around thinking about the worst case scenario and you keep going and you're like, oh, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? That's called catastrophizing and ruminating. Ruminating are repeating thoughts that you just can't stop. It's on a loop. It's not healthy. We do need to meditate regularly because you need to get out of your thinking mind so that you know what it feels like and you know that you have a choice. You have a choice to stop thinking with your egoic mind all the time. It's actually an addiction to be constantly thinking. We don't need an inner voice in our heads all the time. So, what meditation teaches us partially is to be calm and centered energetically, but also to tone down the voice in our heads, the thoughts that are constantly coming. It takes some practice, but once you do that and you realize you can have peace and silence inside yourself, then you realize you can have that anytime you want it. And if you practice, you can meditate and reach that peace wherever you are. It doesn't matter what's going on around you. It doesn't matter who believes in you. It doesn't matter if you're on the bus. It doesn't matter if you're at the beach. It doesn't matter if you're at a party and you go in the bathroom for 5 minutes and meditate. When you learn that your inner peace is fully accessible to you at all times, you will want to access it regularly enough to where it's easily grabbed when you need it. This is why you practice meditation every day, because it comes in really handy when you're going through a little bit more of a difficult time, like a lot of people are right now. And if they had the skills that we're discussing today of meditation and of removing yourself consciously from the fear loop, you could use these tools to combat your fear. Fear is mostly manufactured inside yourself. It's a story that you're telling yourself with your thoughts about something that you are thinking about. And the reason you're afraid is because you've categorized the future event, or the issue that you're afraid of. You've categorized it and linked it in your brain to a past event where something that you've categorized as similar occurred and the outcome was very much unwanted by you. This gets very much encoded into your energetic body, and it can actually eventually block the energy so much that it forms an energy ball and can form a physical ailment eventually. It can eventually become a solid blockage. So resolving these things is important for your physical health as well as your mental health as well as your energetic health, which are all tied together. There is no separation between them. This is your ecosystem. So once you realize the future is never set in stone for the most part, because there's so many different outcomes to every scenario. So if you understand that there's not really linear time in the way that we think there is, it just seems like there is. You can affect the past and the future with your own thoughts and behavior in your healing. If you heal something in your family line, you can heal generations forward and back. If you heal yourself of some pattern in this lifetime, you can heal it in other lifetimes. We are connected at a quantum level to other lifetimes, other dimensions, other parts of ourselves. And we're connected to the higher dimensions right now with the parts of our souls that are actually there. That's what I found out on a different level when my twin flame transitioned and we remained connected, but I could feel his energy to an extreme degree. And then I eventually learned to visit and just walk around and have fun. We even invented interdimensional parties where we took groups of people to the other side, the astral plane, to experience what it's like there. And there is no fear. There is peace and true love, joy, transcendence. And that's a state that can be accessed by us here and now. That's what my twin and I are bringing to you through our artwork. These channeled messages in the crystals that we sell, which do hold frequencies. That's what crystals do. So once you understand a few of these concepts about how what you focus on is what you get, so that you understand that that's the mechanism for creating your life. If you want to focus on things that make you afraid, you'll get confirmation that you have a lot of things to be afraid of. You'll get more things to be afraid of. And it'll just snowball because that's what you focused on. The universe doesn't care one way or the other. What you focus on, it'll just give you what you focus on. Its job is to say, oh, you want this? Okay, here you go. Here's some more of it. If you consciously decide to focus on things that are happier, that are productive, that make you feel good, that make you feel accomplished, and that, things that are high vibrational and positive, then you will get more of that in your life. You're creating the algorithm of your life. It is like an algorithm that you would find online. You are programming the algorithm with your desires and your thoughts and your behaviors. So if fear starts as a thought, yes, it actually manifests as a very physical and visceral experience, but that comes from the thought, not the other way around. It's not like your body freaks out and then you think to yourself, oh, I'm afraid. No, your body's afraid because your mind in the past told it this was a situation to fear. Or you're startled because it's a new situation that you've never been in. That, is a little bit different. Uncertainty about the future is different than remembering an event in the past and being afraid of it again so that you can avoid it. Uncertainty of the future, yes, it is a feeling that is uncomfortable, but one good way to harness that is to realize that fear and excitement are the same. It's just the spin you put on it. You could view the things that are happening now as unprecedented and exciting. And I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness of what's happening. I am fully aware of how horrible some of the things are that are happening. We're not talking about that. We're not denying that. We are not toxic positivity people here. You can't bypass reality. You need to accept reality without resistance. But what we're saying is, to navigate uncertainty, you don't necessarily have to think that the changes that are coming will be bad. You can see that there is a long-term scenario unfolding and that you don't know the answer. If you're trying to guess what the outcome is going to be, there is no final outcome. There's always going to be something in the future. So trying to constantly guess what's going to happen is what your ego does, because it thinks that's the way to keep you safe. Let it predict the future, and then you'll know exactly what to do to prepare for it. But the problem with that is the ego can't predict the future. Nobody can really predict the future. The people who are the closest to it are the true spiritually awakened and enlightened and spiritually developed, personally developed channels and mediums. They have the most pure information when they're really good. And they'll tell you there are potentials for the future. They're not set in stone. There's always many, many potentials for the future. If you truly understood that, you would know everything is up in the air until it's not. So trying to predict the future makes no sense. You're wasting your time. You'll never do it. You're going to be wrong more times than you're right. But you could also understand that whatever you believe is what you receive. If you really understood that as a true concept, I think you'd be a lot more careful about what you believe. You would stop and really analyze your beliefs and say, is this really what I want to believe? Can I change it? Is there a way to believe something better than this? Is my belief of this situation being negative or unwanted actually true? Or is it possible that the situation could lead to something positive that's better than I even thought it could be? Is it possible that I don't need to label the situation as positive or negative because there's nothing right or wrong? It's just, some paths are more desirable. There are definitely decisions that could be made that would help more people than they hurt. As far as that goes, there's decisions that and situations that could unfold that are desirable versus not desirable. But that's the short term, and it's the long term that we need to remember is the entire point. And we can never really know the entire long term plan that the universe has because we're just little ants. You know what I mean? If you look down from above, we're tiny little parts of this giant timeline that we're on, and we can't see that far ahead, which for some people that's going to be a fear producing statement, but for other people they're going to understand that that means all kinds of amazing things are possible. So if you understand things are not set in stone, you can stop and analyze your fear, and you can change your beliefs. If your beliefs are leading to your fear, you can change them. If your thoughts are always leading you towards fear, you need to stop yourself, become mindful, do some meditations, do some journaling, and figure out, why are you letting your thoughts do that? You don't need to let your thoughts run away with you all the time. Do some mindfulness practices, look them up on YouTube. Do some shadow work exercises, look it up on YouTube. It's just about figuring yourself out and being responsible for your thoughts. You need to be responsible for yourself. It's not about controlling your emotions. They need to be acknowledged and felt, but then they need to be released. Don't live in your anger. Feel it and let it out. Like, feel it, let it run through your body and release it. Don't resist it. Resisting it is what causes it to stay. So if you feel something fearful, let it go through you, release it, and then really analyze, is that really something to be afraid of, or is it a story that you're telling yourself where you actually have no proof that that's the outcome? So those are just a few more techniques we have been given recently for how to combat fear during these times that are creating a lot of fear. And it's a lot more complicated than this. You do have to understand metaphysical concepts and higher concepts of what these dimensions really are, what's happening to us here. But in reality, it's pretty simple. What you focus on will grow. What you believe, you receive. That's how you create your subjective reality. It's how you create what timeline you're on. And once you understand it, you can take control of that part of yourself and see what happens. And realize that no matter the outside circumstances, your inner world can be very peaceful and joyous. And you can be in a high vibration regardless of what the people around you are doing or saying or how they're behaving. Yes, it takes some practice, but it is worth it. Because then you can transcend what is happening around you. And you can be okay with yourself no matter what, because you trust yourself. This is about you trusting yourself and knowing that you have some control over your life so that you don't feel like a complete victim. This is empowerment. Empowerment. And the higher vibrational emotional states, such as joy and love and gratitude, they're incompatible with fear. Fear is a very low vibration. Gratitude, joy, and love are very high vibrations. So if you focus on the higher vibrations, the higher emotional states, and create those things for yourself, you won't be able to feel the lower vibrational states at the same time. You can't. It's one or the other. So it's our job as conscientious humans on this planet right now to vibrate as high as we can for ourselves, but for everybody else as well, because we're creating the energetic environment that we're all in. If you want things to get better, tend your own garden and raise your own vibration doing the things that we're teaching you. This is more important than anything else, because if we all did this, we wouldn't have any of these problems right now. All the things you're afraid of would have disappeared if everybody tended their own energy, approached energetic hygiene as something that was necessary, took responsibility for their thoughts and emotions and their self-development work, and gave that energy to the collective. That would solve all of our problems if we all did it. Even if most of us did it. I mean, even if half of us did it. So just take these little snippets of ideas and pick the ones that you can do and try them. And then master that and pick another one. Just experiment and see what makes you feel better. Because all of the higher vibrational emotional states will make you feel better than fear. Guaranteed. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good week.